a 2012 Volkswagen GTI, so it's the Mark 6 generation. This edition is actually the Autobahn edition.
What's different about the Autobahn and just the standard S, right? There's a GTI S version.
Yeah, so the Autobahn actually pretty much came with practically every option you could get in 2012. So they came with leather seats, they came with navigation, the upgraded audio system, so it has Dyna audio, and then it also has the upgraded headlights on the front. So those are the main differences.
So how long have you had it?
So I've had the car since 2014. It was right out of school. I picked it up, get me to some of the entry-level jobs and stuff like that, and get me around, you know, just as a daily driver pretty much. And I've been daily driving it up until pretty much last year. About 68,000 miles on it right now.
Still low.
So considering that it was driven since 2014 daily, it's relatively low mileage. So I try not to put too many miles on it. Interestingly enough, it was probably out the first 2 to 3 years that I had the car. I didn't really do anything to it right out of the gate. I just kind of started slow. I think the first thing I put on it was an air intake, and I didn't even get it tuned at that point in time. So it was really just an air intake just to hear some sounds.
Make some cool noises.
Yeah, at the time it was a USP Motorsports intake that I had on there, and I ended up replacing that last year. That was the first actual mod that I did to the car.
Then it just cascaded out of control.
Then it pretty much started cascading out of control.
The way we like it, though.
So really a lot of the heavy mods started about 3 years ago, I would say, 2 to 3 years ago. So I think the first thing I actually did after the intake was I ended up getting a tune on it. So I went with APR Motorsports. Mm-hmm. They offer all kinds of tunes, everything from stage 1 up to a stage 3 level. And the stage 1 really only requires an intake on these. I just went with the stage 1 for a little while to get that started, and then, you know, with the stage 1, these cars do start having some problems, so you have to start replacing coil packs and spark plugs and things like that, and I had some of those issues to deal with at first. And then the fuel injectors went on it, so I had to replace 2 fuel injectors. Thankfully those were covered under Volkswagen's extended warranty on that. Then shortly after I got all those things taken care of, I got a full exhaust, an integrated engineering downpipe, a custom catback from Misfit Autoworks.
Is that what's still on it?
Yep, that's what's on it now, yeah. Then after that, I got the stage 2 tune, bumped it up since I had the exhaust done. So suspension-wise, the car is running on Bilstein B14 coilovers. So it's sort of like somewhat of their entry-level coilover, but I was just really going for sort of like that motorsports performance out of the suspension and not lowering it too much to the point where it's like slammed, but getting a good, comfortable ride height for just general kind of motorsports theme. Originally, I had Rotiform KPSs on there. They were black, red center caps, much like these ones are. At the time, they were a little bit more affordable, and it was sort of the direction I was going in. I had them on there for a little while. I felt like they weren't bringing enough out of the car as to what visually you can see, and it just seemed like they kind of blended in. It feels like everyone does black wheels on darker cars these days, or black wheels in general is pretty common. So I wanted something a bit more unique. I found these Vorsteiners for a pretty good deal. They're 19 by 8.5 ET45. I ended up getting them custom powder coated in Highland bronze, and then I ended up getting the new bolts and the red center caps for them. They're pretty expensive because they are like a rotary forged wheel, so they're like lightweight. They're about 22 pounds. Vorsteiner's kind of like a unique niche company where you don't really see these on lower end cars very often. Like generally the cars that you will see the Vorsteiners on are typically like Porsches and your Audis and your higher end BMWs and things like that. So it's actually really interesting. I thought it would be a cool upgrade to go for this because I know Volkswagen's is not really on the same level as like a Porsche per se, but they're definitely like a nice luxury wheel, and I figured it'd be unique, and I haven't found a single GTI running these yet.
Do you notice a big difference in ride quality, performance, handling from an 18 to a 19?
Yeah, the big thing that I noticed was you definitely feel the road a bit more, going with that lower sidewall on the tire down to a 35 basically from a 40. I definitely feel the road a lot more, which I actually kind of like in some cases. If you're just looking for a comfortable ride, it's not really at that, but if you're looking for something sporty, which is what I'm kind of going with in the car, they're definitely nice. You do definitely feel that. The turn in and some of the cornering is a little bit improved as well. Not as much sidewall roll and things like that.
Let's go under the hood a little bit here. With the tune that you did, which is now you're APR Stage 2, have you had it dynoed or anything, or do you have a ballpark idea?
Yeah, so I just have a ballpark idea of what APR says the car should put out. To the wheels, to the front wheels, basically the car should be putting out around 254 horsepower and around 328 foot-pounds of torque. It's a relatively lighter car, power to weight ratio. It's a fun car to drive for sure. carbon fiber rear spoiler on the back that I got. I have some smoke side markers on the front.
Oh, nice. Yeah, they look good.
Carbon chin lip spoiler on the front that kind of goes into that space in the front grille. Blitzkrieg Euro plate on the front, running with the carbon fiber mirror cover caps. On the rear, I actually have a strafe design rear diffuser set up. I went all gloss black VW emblems. So these are the Golf R tail lights, actually. So they're LED tail lights, and they have like a dark cherry sort of tint on them.
So you don't daily drive it anymore?
I do not anymore. Pretty much as of October or so of last year, picked up a daily, so now it's pretty much kept in the garage all the time now, except for to go to shows and meets and cars and coffees and things like that every now and again. She's a garage queen now, pretty much.
But it did see, you've forged through some Pennsylvania winters with it.
That's for sure, yeah. It's seen it, so it has some abuse here and there, some rock chips and things like that over the years. Yeah, it's definitely seen some Pennsylvania winters.
You've gone to the extent of buying something to drive every day, that this is probably something that's on the long-term, I'm not getting rid of this list.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like at this point I have too much emotional attachment to the car, just because it's really like one of the first or second cars that I really started getting into like heavily modding. Pretty much from the get-go of buying this car, I never really planned on getting rid of it. Honestly, probably never will. It's probably going to be one of those things that's just a project that's never ending. I may move on and get a different car as my other fun car or something in the future, but I'm probably always going to keep this, and at some point it might just turn into some like Frankenstein monster of a car. You never know. I might go big turbo and do all kinds of crazy things to it. Who knows? I'm a huge Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche fan. The whole Volkswagen family is pretty much my main interest in cars. Really, when I bought this, was just looking for something that was relatively new and, like you said, practical, able to do a lot of things with it. It's still fun to drive, gets good gas mileage, those sort of things. It sort of ticks all those boxes for for a car like this, and that was something that was really important to me at the time.
Is there a story behind Blitzkrieg?
Not too much of a story, really. When I actually bought this car, it actually had a front plate because it was an out-of-state car. Mm-hmm. So it had 3 huge holes drilled in the front grille, into the front bumper. So I had to get something to replace it. So I wanted to get like a Euro plate. I thought that would be a pretty cool addition. And at that point, I was just trying to brainstorm something I thought that would be cool. I didn't want to get like a generic, just like a bunch of numbers and letters, like some of that. So I was just trying to think of like, what are some cool German words? Kind of was harkening back to some of my driving style with the car. So I was like, oh, well, maybe Blitzkrieg would be a cool one. I just went with that, and I thought it was a pretty cool front plate idea.